And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brenden and Eric. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're breaking down week 7. Get close to that halfway point in the NFL season. We're just past the third way point. Some great games on schedule. Mr. Eric Warrensy in full Bears gear. The Bears are, shall we say, back? Warrensy, how we doing?
Bears are back. They certainly are. I hope people followed one of my locks of the week last week and had a Bears ticket in hand, watching that beat down they delivered over across the pond. So it'll be a week without Bears football this week, but the last 2 weeks I've used them as locks and they've come through for me. So loving Bears life right now.
Are you a fan of my shirt that I'm wearing right now? I can't get a read on my shirt. I think I like it. You like it? I bought it 2 weeks ago.
You look good in everything, Brenden.
Thank you. This is the first time I'm wearing it. I bought it 2 weeks ago, so I'm letting it fly on the podcast for the first time.
There you go. Saved it for a special occasion.
Hey, there you go. All right, Ordsy, let's do this. Tons of games, tons of football to talk about. And we're going back to London. London calling again. The Jags stay there after, like you said, a complete ass whooping. The Bears finished first in offensive EPA, DVOA for the week. They torched that Jags defense. And then you got the red hot Drake May coming to London, to face the Jags. The Jags are 5.5-point favorites. Warrensy, you're our London guy on the show so far. You know, you're red hot when games are across the pond. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I have gone back-to-back weeks in London and hit with the favorites. I wanted to take Jacksonville in this spot and make it a lot for 3 weeks in a row due to the fact that they're staying in London while the Patriots are coming over this week. We saw the Jaguars in this spot last year after a week in London dismantle a Bills team last year that was as hot as anybody in the league, and Jacksonville won that game rather comfortably. But I just can't bet this Jacksonville team right now as a lock. They are in disarray. This defense, Ryan Nielsen, the new defensive coordinator, I'm pretty sure it's going to be one and done for him. This unit is playing gobs of man coverage and just continuously getting torched. Do New England have the horses to take advantage of this week's secondary? I don't think so. And when handicapping this game, the reason it's a stay away for me is they're calling for rain throughout. It's going to be very wet, very windy, and this is over in a new stadium, Tottenham's stadium. We haven't seen a game on this field yet this year. Last year, tons of complaints on this field, so it is actually a different surface this year than they played on last year, but it is still a soccer stadium field. We saw in Brazil NFL players playing on soccer grass, and it's a borderline ice rink, especially when you add in some rain. So I'm passing. For the sake of the show, I am going to take the Jaguars because they are in the spot of a team in London on their second week, but the field conditions and weather have me passing.
Yeah, it's a tough game to get a read on. You just brought up the Ryan Nielsen thing. It's funny. I feel like this offseason, everyone was hyping up the Ryan Nielsen hiring, and he was going to be one of the better coordinators in the NFL. It was kind of the hipster pick on football Twitter, and it's looked awful. The Jags have the worst defense in the NFL. Your Bears just carved them up. Drake May looked really good last week, in my opinion. He had 3 touchdown passes. I know he had 2 picks, but he was able to push the ball deep down the field, which New England hasn't had since the Brady era. Like this, could Drake May take advantage of Jags' passing defense? Theoretically, yes, but you brought up traveling to London. Rookie quarterbacks are 0-5 in London since the series started. There's kind of a lot going against him. Except for heading into last week. Yes, you're right. Yeah. So they're 1-5 now. But I have a hard time locking in either side here. I'm going to take the Patriots plus 5.5 just for the points. Quickly on the Jags, a funny stat that I dug up. You know their third in drop rate this year? Remember last year everyone was ripping on them for how much drops they had? They were 6th in drop rate last year, and now they're third. It's like they got rid of all the wide receivers in the building, and they still can't catch the football. Is it Trevor Lawrence's fault?
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on. I think there's a scenario here where Doug Peterson might not be the head coach of this team when they get back from London. If they do lose
I was going to bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a scenario where the Jaguars win this game by field goal and Doug is still fired.
It's tough to fire a coach off a win.
I think there's a scenario where they win and he's fired, but we'll talk about that down the road.
Yeah. All right, next up, the Tennessee Titans heading over to the new look Buffalo Bills. The Bills are 8.5-point favorites. Amari Cooper comes to town. Let's talk about that trade first. What'd you think?
Oh, I love that for the Bills. You chirped me a little bit in our group chat because on Monday night I said I'm on Keon Coleman's under in his yards, and that's because he was forced to line up outside every snap, and I just don't think that's his strength. And
I didn't chirp you. I just called you a hater because it's just I think receiving under, like if you set out a player and pick their under, I just find that hate behavior. I didn't think it was a bad bet. Did it hit? I think it ended up hitting.
Yeah,
right?
it did. It was a rocking chair hit. It was so comfortable. But adding Amari Cooper, I think that just slides Coleman into the number 2 spot, and I like him in that role significantly more. So I think you're upgrading 2 spots on the offense here by bringing in Cooper. I love the acquisition, and they're paying him less than $1 million. Just A+ from the Bills' perspective in my trade grade. But I don't believe Cooper's playing this week, right? It sounds like they're going to give him a week to learn the playbook more.
I haven't heard that. I think he's going to suit up in this game.
But if he does, I think it will be on a limited snap count.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's going to play, but like you said, it's probably like getting dropped into an offense and playing 85% of the snaps like receivers play is probably out of the question. But I'm assuming he's going to suit up. He's a veteran. He can kind of learn things on the fly a little bit. He hasn't been good this year. Like if you take a look at the stats, he's negative 0.16 in EPA per target. That's second last in the NFL. He's negative 15.5% catch rate over expected, second last in the NFL. ESPN Analytics has Amari Cooper rated as the worst wide receiver that they've charted. Now, none of this kind of includes Deshaun Watson was his quarterback, and he's literally has the worst signal caller in the NFL throwing him the football. I still think Amari Cooper is a great wide receiver. I think you drop him in this Bills offense, it kind of fits. And I was listening to Jordan Schultz, he's a Fox analyst. He was saying that the Bills room really likes this trade because he's kind of the anti-Stephon Diggs a little bit. Like he's just a nice guy. He's not going to like bitch and moan about not getting targets. Kind of a completely different just personality than Stephon Diggs.
And he's got to be in such a good headspace leaving that locker room and coming into this locker room.
Like night and day. He probably jumped out off the couch or wherever he was so fast when he got that notice. Like, I cannot wait to get out of this hellhole.
He had a suitcase packed in 5 seconds.
Yeah. And another reason why I like about it, like I saw Matt Collins get like 3 red zone targets the other night. I'm like, this can't last anymore. You know what I mean? We got to do something here. But they are playing a Tennessee Titans defense that is first in defensive success rate, 4th in EPA per play on defense. This is a tough team to go against. And I think 8.5 points is a lot. So I think the Bills win, but I'm going to take the Titans as a dog here. I think they can kind of keep this one close. Bills win by a touchdown is my guess, but 8.5 is a lot of points here for a good defense like the Titans.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to side with the Titans and the points. I just also think this is a letdown spot for the Bills. You're playing on Monday Night Football. First place in the division was on the line. You get that win. I just think there's an exhale in that room. And when you're being asked to cover 8.5, you need to have your foot on the gas for 4 quarters. So I think there's a little exhale. Bills win, but Titans cover.
All right, the Miami Dolphins on the road to play the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are 3-point favorites. Anthony Richardson is expected to start. He was supposed to start last week. Last minute, Joe Flacco steps in and plays. The Colts end up getting the dub. My Titans pick was a dud. This is a tough one to read. The Dolphins coming off a bye. Do you have a lean here? This is like one of the hardest games for me to get a read on.
I actually have a pick in this game, and it's greasy, but I'm going to be taking the Miami Dolphins +3 here. Last week, you were on the Titans, and I liked that pick, and the reasoning was because the Titans were off a bye facing a Gus Bradley defense. Gus Bradley's run the same defense for, let's say, a decade now. You could pull up tape from a decade ago, and Gus Bradley's running that exact same defense. Titans come out and go for less than 100 pass yards. I couldn't believe that. I liked the Titans pick. You just didn't get the right result. I think this week we are going to get the result. And Mike McDaniel, I trust him as a coach with 2 weeks of preparation to come with a better game plan against a defense that he knows what he is getting. He must have spent 2 weeks finding a way to get Tyreek Hill the ball. You still got playmakers here. Huntley is going to be the quarterback again. They're putting faith in him, and he's used these whole 2 weeks to learn the playbook more. So It's greasy, but I'm on the Dolphins +3 in this spot.
I like it. I have the Dolphins +3. I couldn't find a way to like get enough out there. A couple of my reasonings here kind of back you up. Mike McDaniel off a bye week. He's a smart head coach. He can figure out some lane ways for these players to get open. And the Colts are 30th in adjusted line yards on the ground allowed right now. They're a bad run defense. Devon Achane's back. He should be healthy for this one. I think they're going to just hammer the run game. Kind of like when the Green Bay Packers ran all over the Colts earlier this season, when they had Malik Willis at quarterback. I think you're going to see very similar run schemes to what LaFleur ran that Mike McDaniel's going to pull over here. So I like the Dolphins as well. I don't even know. Am I there thinking that Joe Flacco gives the Colts a better chance than Anthony Richardson? Like,
am
I
sure
crazy?
It does. I'm hoping Richardson starts this game.
He is. He's going to start.
I just also. That's what they said last week.
But like, it's a lot more concrete this week. Like, it's a lot more concrete.
But I also just think right now the Colts are being held together by glue. Like last week, the injury report did not go your way. Michael Pittman was supposed to be on IR with a back. He comes out. He looks great.
And Josh Downs ends up playing. Yeah, it all just didn't go my way.
Their wide receiver room is being held together by glue. There's got to be a game coming up soon where Pittman and Downs miss time. They're not going to play the full game with those injuries every week in, week out. So hold my nose, but give me the Dolphins +3.
I'll be fading the Colts a lot this year. I don't think they're a good football team. I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors with this team. I think they'll definitely collapse as the season goes on. All right, maybe game of the week here. Detroit Lions on the road to play the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 1.5 point favorites. Just an awesome NFC North matchup. The NFC North has been amazing. You have some stats on this. You wanted to kind of bring this up, how good the NFC North has been this season?
Yeah, the NFC North is just off the charts right now. I mean, the 4 best teams in terms of point differential are all in the NFC North. The Bears and Packers are tied for last place at 4-2. They're both in the +40s in point differential. Combined, they're +211. The next closest division is the AFC North at +21. So
that's insane.
This division's off the charts now. I know they haven't really played each other yet. There's only been one game within the division. So get your popcorn ready. I think this is going to be a hell of a ball game. There's 3 games this week that are the marquee games. I'm going to be sitting on the sidelines in all 3 of them, and it's because these are these teams' best data points.
You're going dumpster diving this week, eh?
I am going dumpster diving, but I'll be watching these games closely because I think we're really going to get good data points on these teams. Detroit, I've backed them a lot this year, but if you look at their schedule, this is by far their biggest test, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. This Minnesota defense is ranked number 1 in terms of EPA per play right now, and the Lions haven't faced a team in the top half of the league defensively this year. Like, if you look at that Cowboys unit that they dismantled last week, they're ranked 28th in DVOA right now. Like, that's not a feather in your cap.
They were playing with their food. It wasn't even like they were doing like hook and ladders to offensive. They were so determined to get a 300-pound plus man in that end zone, no matter. And like Dan Campbell went into that game going, someone whose fat is crossing the pylon today. And that was, if I was a Cowboys fan, that would have been such an embarrassing game to watch from beginning to end. But something that, like, the Lions lost their best player on the team in that game, in Aiden Hutchinson.
He's leading the NFL in pressures, quarterback hits, pass rush win rate. I think he's tied for the lead in sacks or second in sacks, but Aiden Hutchinson has been a monster this year. So we need to see what that defense looks without him. But you brought up the Detroit playing with their food last week, and that's what good coaching staffs do off a bye, right? Well, we got a good coaching staff in Minnesota off a bye. So I really respect Flores and O'Connell. I want to see their game plan off a bye. There's just too many cases to be made for both sides in this game for me to have a strong feel. I've been backing the Lions all year, so I'm going to back them for the sake of the show, but just watching this one.
So a couple more things I wanted to throw out here. Goff has played well against the Vikings in his career, especially last year against Brian Flores. So if you take a look at the last 2 games when Flores was the defensive coordinator, when Goff was the quarterback of the Lions, he went 53-72 for 577 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 112 passer rating. So there's data to say that Goff can defeat this Brian Flores defense. Now, they added some players. Van Ginkel's been big for them. There's a couple of guys they added this offseason that have definitely elevated the defense, but the Lions have done a good job of scheming against them. And Justin Jefferson has just been a monster against the Lions as well. He's torched them over 300 yards last season against them, 6.2 yards per route run against man coverage. The Lions play a ton of man coverage. So
Who is an elite number, by the way?
Yeah. I couldn't really get a strong. I'm going to take the Lions plus 1.5 just because I'll take the team that's an underdog in this one. I think it's very evenly matched. But I was wondering if you were going to come with an overplay here because there's 4 guys that have minus odds to score a touchdown in this game. Like Jefferson's minus 120. Like David Montgomery thinks like minus 200. Like they're expecting a lot of points, Vegas, in this one. I think the total's like 49.5, 50, close there.
Yeah. So. I don't mind that over.
Yeah, expect a lot of fireworks in this one, but fun game. I'll take the Lions. You're on the Vikings, but I don't really have a strong one.
No, I'm taking Lions as well.
You're taking the Lions. Okay. So we're both on Detroit in this one. All right, next up, Seattle Seahawks battle the Birds. Fly over, you get that pun there, to the Atlanta Falcons to take on Kirk Cousins and the boys. The Falcons are -3. Home favorites. Brian Murphy back in practice for the Seahawks today. It looks like Tariq Woolen is going to play as well, so they get some defensive help. They've just been hammered on the defensive side of the ball as of late. The 49ers lit them up. The Lions lit them up. They looked really good the first 2 games, and their numbers have just completely dropped. I think they're down in the bottom 10 in defensive DVOA. It's been kind of a mess. Do you think the Hawks can bounce back after a 3-0 start, now 3-3 against the Falcons?
I do think the Seahawks bounce back. It's not going to be a lock or anything, but I like grabbing the +3 in this spot. The Falcons have played 1-possession games all year up until last week, but that was against Carolina. That defense, we'll get to them later. Oh,
and it was close. Like they kind of pulled away towards the end. Like the Panthers gave them a fight.
Yeah, but you mentioned the reinforcements Seattle's getting on the defensive side of the ball. I think that gets them enough spots. And Geno's coming off his worst game of the year, so I think this is a nice matchup for him and his weapons. This Falcons defense has been actually doing a really good job of limiting big plays. They've given up the second fewest plays of 20-plus yards. Raheem Morris is I think he's doing what a good defensive coach does, and he's getting the most out of a unit that doesn't really have a lot of talent. He's a defensive backs coach. That's where he's made his bread and butter, and their secondary is playing above average for what I think they have. But I think Geno has a good matchup here and does just enough to get the cover.
This is my first lock of the week. I like the Seahawks +3 against Falcons. I think they can cover this one. Nice. I love this bet. I think this is a prime bounce back spot for the Seahawks. I still think these are 2 kind of close, evenly talented teams, but I do think the Seahawks, I think the Seahawks are a better team, so you get the +3 there as well. And this Geno Smith is great when he's not pressured in the pocket. He's 6th in EPA per play from a clean pocket, 5th in DVOA with a clean pocket. The Falcons are dead last in pressure rate right now. They can't get after the quarterback. The way to beat the Seahawks right now is basically attack Stone Forsythe on the right side of the line. He's been the worst offensive lineman in the NFL. They don't have the horses to do that. I really like the Falcons, the Seahawks passing game in this one, and I also think the run game can light up the scoreboard as well. The Falcons are 29th in rush success rate right now. They have a lot of holes on the front 7. I think Kenneth Walker could have a big game. I was looking at his 2 touchdown plus odds. It's like +380. It's not that high, but I think Kenneth Walker's gonna have a big game. But first lock, give me the Seahawks +3.
Nice, I'm on board.
All right, another bird team. My birds, Philadelphia Eagles, flying over to MetLife to take on the New York Giants. Where would I start here? The Eagles are banged up again, Wardsy. They're banged up again.
Last week I told you not to worry about the Eagles. It was their get-right spot. Things were going to be good. Don't worry about it. They dominated the first half. Cleveland only had 71 yards of offense, and it was a tie game. There's just something about this Eagles team right now that I can't trust them as favorites right now, and Jalen Hurts in his career as a road favorite is quietly 7-14 against the spread. They're better against they're better straight up, but Hurts hasn't really covered these numbers as a road favorite. And Deshaun Watson started the second half last week 11 for 11. Deshaun Watson, like, I can't believe I'm saying this. Daniel Jones is better than Deshaun Watson. So what's he going to do?
He is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm worried, man. I don't know. Last week I told you not to worry. This week you should be worried, man.
Trust me, I am. I have no idea. Still no idea. Like last week, I went into the game. I have no idea what this team is. I still have no idea what this team is. The one thing that they are better, like they just are, like their Jimmys and Joes are better than your X's and O's. Like AJ Brown just ended up being too good for the Browns. Devonta Smith ended up being too good for the Browns. Like they have so much talent. That's what you're going off of. But right now, Warrensy, the Eagles have 5 opening drives this season. They have 22 total yards on those 5 opening drives. They're the only team in the NFL that still hasn't scored a point in the first quarter. They just seem unprepared every single week. And like that was coming off a bye last week. Like they should have been able to like have a nice open script and get after the Browns defense at the gate. It was just a frustrating game to watch. And then Nick Sirianni at the end of the game steals a spotlight. And now all the questions are about him and not AJ Brown having a great game. There's just the vibes are so weird. It's been the weirdest Eagles season to date that I've been a fan of since like for 20 plus years. Back to the actual game. Jordan Mailata is going to miss this one. Looks like Dallas Goedert's also going to be out. Jalen Carter popped up on the injury report today with a shoulder injury. Don't know what the seriousness of that one is, but all reports are saying he's going to be all right, but we'll see how it looks on Friday. And the big one here is the Saquon revenge game. So Saquon does like a weekly appearance on Dan Patrick's podcast, and he said he doesn't think he's going to get booed. Wake up call, Saquon. You're going to get fucking booed at MetLife. They're not going to like you very much there. I think the Eagles just need to run the ball heavy. The Giants have post the most light boxes against the run in the NFL. The 28th an explosive play rate allowed on the ground. So this is an Eagles run game that should be able to have success against the Giants. But also the Giants defense has allowed more than 21 plus points in a single game this year. The Giants defense isn't terrible. They're just bad against the run. They've been pretty good over the air. I'm going to take the Eagles -3. I don't love it. And you're right. I think I'm worried. Like I think there's a real scenario here or a real shot here. The Eagles leave MetLife 3-3 and lose to the Giants.
I'm going to take the points in a division game here. Grab the Giants +3. I've been impressed with Brian Daboll this year. What he's been doing reminds me of 2 years ago where he's really squeezing this offense for all the juice possible. Remember he won a playoff game 2 years ago with Daniel Jones, and for some reason didn't call plays last year. The offense struggled. This year with him back at the helm calling the plays, their offense is at least mediocre. So I'm on the Giants +3.
It's going to be a terrifying game as an Eagles fan, man. Like they better leave that stadium 4-2. Because Philly media is already red hot at Sirianni. I can't imagine what his life's going to be like if they leave that stadium 500. Okay, the Cincinnati Bengals are 5.5 point road favorites heading into Cleveland. This division has been a dogfight for Zach Taylor. He's 11-21 straight up in the division since the head coach of Cincinnati Bengals. Underdogs in this division are 46-29 against the spread since 2018. So dogs have kind of favored the NFC or the AFC North. However, one of the teams is the Cleveland Browns in this game, the 2024 version of the Cleveland Browns. I don't even I took them and they covered 8.5 last week. This is a little smaller of a number. Do you think the Watson and the boys can cover 5.5?
I am taking the Browns +5.5. It's not going to be a lock for me. Cleveland's been a house of horrors for Joe Burrow in his career. He's 0-4 there. 3 out of the 4 games, he hasn't even managed 16 points. He's been held under that number 3 times. It's been a tough place for him to play. With that being said, you have to take the Browns offense into consideration here. And now they're down Amari Cooper. What's that dressing room's vibes like right now? It cannot be good. I don't know if you saw the Kevin Stefanski.
Jerry Jeudy's got to be pumped. He's wide receiver 1 again somewhere.
I don't know if you saw the Stefanski press conference last week, but he was basically asked if Deshaun's going to be the quarterback next week, and he just went, yes, he's going to be the quarterback.
There was someone on Twitter that put a screenshot of like his opening presser when he got hired by the Browns to now. It looks like he's aged 50 years, dude. Like the guy hasn't got a lick of sleep.
They need to do one of the, like, somebody needs to whisper to him like, hey, blink twice if you're being held hostage here, because there's
the Haslams have a gun to his back right now. Yeah.
There's no way in his right mind that he would be wanting to start Deshaun Watson with what he's seen so far this season. They are going to get a boost.
Do you believe? Like, I firmly believe. Sorry to jump. I firmly believe that if Kevin Stefanski had the choice, Jameis Winston would be the starting quarterback right now. Like, there's zero chance that he's making the calls here.
I agree. They are getting a slight boost on the offensive side of the ball with Nick Chubb expected to play. They've been very secretive about what his snap count's going to be. It could be a very limited role, but maybe just Nick Chubb helps the vibes, because they got to be rock bottom vibes right now, especially with Cooper on the way out. I'm holding my nose and taking the Browns. There's a 0% chance I'll wager an actual dollar on Deshaun Watson, but I'm just more fading Joe Burrow's career history in Cleveland.
So there was this article that The Ringer dropped. Great read, by the way. I highly recommend it. I can't remember who wrote it. Austin Gale, wrote it. It was like 12 stats of how bad Deshaun Watson's been, and it just like goes from 1 to 12. There's this one stat that killed me. Roddy McLeod has 2 touchdowns on the season this year. That's one more than Deshaun Watson's accounted for this year. Roddy McLeod's a safety on the Browns. Like, it's so bad, Warren Z, whereas if Joe Burrow and the top 5 offense is on the other side of things, where they are, the Bengals are still 5th in APA per play, 7th in offensive success rate. I think they can win this one by a touchdown. I still think the Bengals are very good. Also, look at Chase Brown touchdown. He's plus 150. He has a touchdown in 3 straight games. It's still nice enough odds there. He's looked like he's taken over that running back 1 role. So I'm going to fade the Zach Taylor stats and the underdog stats in the division. Not a lock for me, but I think the Bengals can win this by a score. I think the Browns are like, unless the spread's over 8 points, I can't do it.
Yeah, they're historically bad on third down right now. They have 12.
They're 0-26. They're 0 of their last 26 on third down.
Yeah, on the season, they have 12 third down conversions. For perspective, Washington has 10 fourth down conversions this season. It is.
I gotta send you this article when I'm done. I'll send you this article when I'm done. It's insane how bad this offense has been. And like there's talent there. Like, it's not like this is a talentless offense. There's 5 to 7 worse offensive rosters in the NFL outside of the quarterback position right now than the Browns. It's remarkable. All right, the Carolina Panthers on the road to take on the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are 8.5 point favorites. Vegas is finally giving them some love, but it is against the lowly Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are 3rd in rush success rate with Andy Dalton right now. I don't know if you know this, but Chuba Hubbard is 3rd in rushing yards in the NFL right now. He's 3rd in yards per carry. He's playing really well. Canadian boy, we love that. But what do you think of this game?
Yeah, true. The Canadian Express is what they're calling him. I love that nickname. He's been He's been good for the Panthers. Maybe they're only positive on the season, because it's dark times in Carolina, and I think there's this potential for this to be the worst defense of the last 20 years. It is trending so far in the wrong way. They just keep adding names to the injury report. There's no talent there. I've been fading the Panthers the last few weeks. It's been working. But I think Vegas is starting to catch up, and now they're giving them enough points where I got to start looking their way. I was close to taking Washington as a lock in this spot. I think I actually like the over more, because this Washington defense is just going to leave the back door wide open. You did mention Chuba Hubbard's having a good year. Washington's been susceptible on the ground, and their secondary has been even worse. So Deontay Johnson and Andy Dalton could easily pair up for a backdoor cover here. So I'm going to take the Panthers in terms of the show, but I really do see a route where Washington doesn't punt in this game.
Yeah, Panthers defense 31st in defensive DVOA. The only defense worse than them is Jacksonville right now. Like, it's just a lack of talent there. Like, there's nothing for Ero Evero to work with. I also like the Panthers plus 8.5 in this game. This is actually close to being a lock for me. It was 5. I had 5, and this was one that kind of slipped off. The Commanders' run defense is terrible too. They're 27th in rush success rate, 24th in EPA per rush. I think the Panthers can just congest this one, like don't have enough possession for Washington to kind of cover this 8.5. Maybe Jonathan Brooks return to this game as well. We're waiting to see here on if he will be back. That adds a nice 1-2 punch with Chuba Hubbard. And Jonathan Allen's gone for the season. An underrated storyline of the week was the Commanders just lost their best defensive player.
Yeah.
And they're going to need to replace him somehow. I'm expecting them to make a move on the defense side of the ball at the deadline, but they're not going to have him for this game or have someone to help him or fill in his role for this game. So I like the Panthers a lot, plus 8.5.
Nice.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, we'll be back finishing off the 4 o'clock games, take a look at the night games, and then Monday night, doubleheader. The Double Doink Podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is hard. It's especially hard when you don't have someone you can open up to. Not everyone is comfortable talking to their friends and family about their personal matters or anything that is bothering them on a day-to-day basis. Mental health is so important to continued success in this world. Therapy is a great way to regroup and get everything off your chest. Insert BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy service, 100% online. They will match you with professional licensed therapists you can trust. You can talk with your therapist however you see fit, via text, phone call, or video chat. BetterHelp has successfully helped over 4 million people worldwide deal with their day-to-day mental health issues. Use the link in the podcast description to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp. And we're back on the Double Doink Podcast. We missed a 1 o'clock game.
Got one.
It's probably one of the better games of the week.
Got one mixed up. You put a 4 with a 1 and a 1 with a 4.
Yeah, it's Thursday. It's been a long day. We make mistakes here. But let's talk about the Houston Texans on the road to play the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are 2.5-point favorites. Packers offense looks like it's juiced again with Jordan Love returning. He's been playing well. The Texans offense got some life last week. The Jordan Love versus CJ Stroud debate was it was a hot topic of conversation this offseason. I got asked a couple times on radio hits who I think's better. The football nerds attacked each other over this one. Maybe we'll find out. Is Love better than Stroud? Is Stroud better than Love? Will this one game decide it all? What's going to happen, Warrensy, in this football game?
It's going to be a heck of a game. This is one of the ones I really just want to use as a data point because I think this is going to be the Texans' best test of the season. And what I'm really looking forward to in this game is kind of just to see how the coaching angles of things, because all coaches in this game are all from the same tree. You got DeMeco Ryans and who's the Texans guy again? Offensive coordinator.
Bobby
Slowick and DeMeco Ryans from the Shanahan tree, and then LaFleur from the same Shanahan tree. So there's going to be a lot of familiarity with both units, kind of their opposing units, and how these coaches go against each other is going to be really interesting for me to watch. This Texans offense without Nico Collins is quietly very meh. They're really missing Nico Collins, which is an obvious statement, but I think against a better defense, which they might be getting in this Packers team, we might find out just what this Texans offense can produce. And I say this mediocre Packers unit because their numbers are a little, I don't know, they're tough to read because they're not very good versus the
run. They've been living off of turnovers.
Yeah.
They've been living off of turnovers.
On a down-to-down basis, if you remove turnovers, they're 20th in EPA per play. If you include turnovers, they're 7th in EPA per play. So if CJ Stroud can take care of the ball, I like the route for the Texans. But if the Packers can get some turnovers, I like the road for the Packers. So I don't have a great feel on this game. Who do you like?
Just give me my second lock. I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers minus 2.5. I really like them in this spot. Packers are 4th in yards per play on offense. Like, this offense looks really good when Love's under center. 871 yards, 10 touchdowns in Love's last 3 starts for him. He's slinging the ball around. My big kind of lean on this one is the Texans defense has been getting absolutely burned on play action passes this year. Their linebacker course stinks. Henry To'oTo'o is one of the worst starting linebackers in the NFL. They're allowing the 3rd highest passer rating and 29th in DVOA against play action passes. Jordan Love on play action this year, 20 of 34 for 341 yards and 4 touchdowns with 132.1 passer rating. That's second highest in the NFL. I think they're going to spam it. I think they're really going to try to attack the middle of the field. A lot of those crossing routes, those deep dig routes are going to be open for the Green Bay Packers offense. The Packers are 6-2 against the spread at home in their last 8 games. The Texans get a lot of pressure, but Jordan Love has the lowest pressure to sack ratio in the NFL right now through week 6. I really like the Packers in the spot. I tried to fade the Texans last week. Didn't work out for me. Going back to the well here to see if they can work. But the Packers were my number 1 seed in the NFC. I'm still seeing those reasons why I picked them. I still think that offense is humming. I still think it will be one of the best offenses in the NFL. It's looking like that as the season progresses. So give me the Packers. All they got to do is win by a field goal, and I think they do that.
Yeah. Okay, you've convinced me. I'll side with you and take the Packers. You have a way better feel on this game than I do.
Mm-hmm. Fun game. Like, these two quarterbacks are two of the best, funnest quarterbacks in the NFL to watch. Funnest isn't a word, but I'll use it here.
Yeah,
it is. It should be a fun one. All right, we're going back to the 4:00 games as we missed that one. The Las Vegas Raiders on the road to play the Rams. Rams are 6.5 point favorites, and they have 1 win. Warrensy, a 1-win team is a 6.5 point favorite in the NFL as of today. It's wild. What world are we living in? We're living in a simulation. You got anything on this game?
It's because it's one of my locks, and I don't think 6.5 is enough. I like the Rams in this spot. They're getting some reinforcements back, and the big name in that it should be Cooper Kupp. And I'm going with the same angle as my Miami Dolphins pick, and it's a very well-coached team off a bye. I think Sean McVay will be able to run circles around this Raiders defense. We just saw the Pittsburgh Steelers offense do whatever they want to this Raiders unit. Najee Harris looked like Alabama Najee Harris last week, and I think Kyron Williams is in for a big day. So I know it is. It's when you word it as a 1-win team laying 6.5, it does sound bad, but I'm on the Los Angeles Rams here minus 6.5.
Your locks are killing me, man.
I know.
Dolphins and the Rams. I love it, though. I love it. The Raiders injury report is a Costco shopping list right now. If you spend $500 there, Tommy Eichenberg didn't practice. Matt Crosby didn't practice. Jacoby Myers didn't practice. Colton Miller didn't practice. Dylan Parham didn't practice. John Jenkins and John Jones are dealing with an illness. There's a bug going around that room. There's a bug just internally with this team right now. Like, Devontae Adams now out of the building. It feels like Antonio Pierce is losing his room a little bit. They got whooped last week. I don't know. I can't back the Las Vegas Raiders right now. The Rams are also quietly 3rd in offensive success rate right now. Like, they still have a very top 7-10 offense without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua for most of that year. So you brought up Kupp coming back. I think this offense should hum. I'll take the Rams minus 6.5.
Nice.
All right. The Kansas City Chiefs on the road to play the San Francisco 49ers. Another banger of a football game. The 49ers are 1.5 point favorites. Pass the ball to you. Brock Purdy. Okay, I saw a graphic today when I was at the gym of First Take, and they were debating who would you rather have in this game, Brock Purdy or Patrick Mahomes. It's like, what are we doing here, First Take?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? One of them's the best player in the world. Wardsy, what do you think?
Yeah, this is the angle I've used this week is the good coaches off a bye. Andy Reid fits that narrative. He is 14-7 in his career off a bye. But it's another one I'm going to be on the sidelines and watch because this is by far the Kansas City Chiefs' best data point. And if you're the San Francisco 49ers, you circled this game the second the schedule came out. This means so much to San Francisco. I'm expecting their A game. Whereas Kansas City this year, I don't think they've played their A game yet. And this game, they kind of don't have to. It's an out-of-conference game for them. It means just so much more to San Francisco, in my opinion. Can Juju Smith-Schuster and Kareem Hunt combined for over 200 yards again? I just don't know if the recipe Kansas City used 2 weeks ago can be used again, especially against a better opponent. So I'm siding with San Francisco, but I don't love it.
All right, it's gonna be my third lock of the week. I'm gonna take the Chiefs plus 1.5. I get the best team in the world right now as underdogs.
Yeah.
Sign me up for that one.
Off a bye.
The Chiefs are off a bye. You brought up so he's actually 21-4 off a bye.
Okay.
Andy Reid. So yeah, one of the best record in NFL history off a bye right now. I think he's going to scheme up a ton of open lanes for these players. Like you said, it's Juju Smith-Schuster, Kareem Hunt. I get that, but that was my angle watching them play the New Orleans Saints, and it just was so smooth. Like everything just worked well. I don't know how long lasting this can happen, but right now the Chiefs offense is doing well. The Chiefs defense since week 3 leads the league in pressure rate and unblocked pressures generated. I think Brock Purdy's going to be running for his life. I think they're going to play a ton of man coverage, attack Purdy. Brock Purdy's 6th in pressure rate forced as well. Like, this is a quarterback that's been running for his life a lot this year. He's played well, don't get me wrong, but I think that the Chiefs defense is going to have their way with the 49ers offensive line. The Chiefs rush defense is actually playing really well. Remember, the Chiefs rush defense is kind of their Achilles heel, even when they won the Super Bowl the past couple of years. Like, it's been their biggest problem. Right now, they're 3rd in rush DVOA. Like, this is a team that's doing really well against the ground. There's no potential Jordan Mason. Christian McCaffrey's out. It might be Isaac Guerrero, who I liked coming out of college, but can he be like this workhorse back? I don't know. I think the Chiefs leave San Francisco with a win. And quietly, like, the 49ers are, like, they played well against Seattle. They didn't play well against the Cardinals. I still don't know what this team is, and I feel like I know what the Chiefs are. So I'll take the Chiefs as my third lock.
Patrick Mahomes hasn't been an underdog in the regular season going back, I believe it's 3 years. So it's an opportunity you don't get often, so I don't blame you for taking Mahomes and the points at all.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're on to Sunday Night Football. And before we talk about this game, there's a couple storylines outside of this game that happened this week that we need to talk about. The New York Jets, 1.5-point road favorites heading into Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson is on track to start, according to Adam Schefter.
Yep.
Wardsey, give me your opinion on this one.
Well, I have one lock left, and it's coming here. I actually made this bet about 7 weeks ago, and I said to myself, no matter what the situation is, I am betting against Russell Wilson in his first start. This decision makes no sense to me whatsoever. Justin Fields might have had his best game as a pro last week. They are getting from Justin Fields through 6 weeks this season is better football than Russell Wilson's played in the last 3 years. It's mind-blowing to me that they're doing this, especially considering the Steelers are going to be down to their 3rd-string center and 2nd-string guard in this game, so there could be some pressure in the interior. That's where the Jets have really only been able to get pressure so far this season, and you're putting in the immobile Russell Wilson. I really don't like this call. I'm on the Jets -1.5. I think the vibes are going to be good. They're bringing in Devontae Adams. He's expected to suit up. Him and Aaron Rodgers, I have faith that it's like riding a bike. You never forget. I think the Jets are the side here, -1.5.
I think I forgot how to ride a bike. I don't think I could do it very well. But I could ride a stationary bike at the gym.
I bet you could.
Okay. Steelers offense so far this season. 17th in EPA per play, 20th in points per game, 23rd in DVOA, 26 in yards per game. So if you look at it from like in a vacuum, okay, like Fields in this offense isn't doing very well. They're below average. But this is more to me of like, what has Russell Wilson done? You know, it's not like if it was someone else replacing Fields, like if it was a top 15 quarterback who's played well in the past, I can buy that. But like, what is Russell Wilson dropped into this offense going to do better? I don't know what the answer is. Like, was there some sort of pact made with Russell Wilson that he had to start a football game if he was assigned here? Like, this feels like such an un-Mike Tomlin move, in my opinion, too. Like, I know Mike Tomlin kind of likes his veterans more, but to me, this is almost like when I have to believe it. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, I know the wordage out of or the words coming from Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter's camp are saying it's going to be Wilson, but this doesn't pass the piss test for me. The Steelers' defense right now has been great. They're still 10th in DVOA. Like, they still can be had on through the air. They're really good against the run, but their secondary isn't great. They kind of have to get after the quarterback.
They haven't played a quarterback yet. They've got Bo Nix, Aiden O'Connell. Justin Herbert suffered a high ankle sprain early in that game. I think that this Jets offense, and I know it's not a great offense by any means, but this is still the toughest test that the Steelers will have seen.
And I think it matches up well. They're going to be throwing the football in this game. Like, the Jets don't run the ball well at all. They're going to be airing it out. And now Devontae Adams is on this team. You brought up them knowing each other from 2016 to 2021. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams had the most yards, receptions, and touchdowns on quick throws. Guess who throws the ball at the quickest time in the NFL so far this season? Mr. Aaron Rodgers. I think this is a good matchup for the Jets offense. I like the Jets as road favorites, but you're making it a lock.
It is a lock.
We're both on the Jets. What did you make of the Davante Adams trade, quickly before we move on? Did you like it for the Jets?
I guess I don't like it from the contract standpoint, from the compensation standpoint, but you're already all in. I wish Davante Adams could play offensive line or kick field goals, but...
Yeah. Or coach.
Yeah.
Or be the head coach.
Yeah, seriously. But I guess you're already all in. You've put all these eggs in a 40-year-old quarterback's basket. What's one more?
Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Just like I think a lot of people are ripping on it. Like, just let it happen. Like, who cares? I think Davante Adams is not ever be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, he can still be a number one wide receiver. The thing that's funny about it to me is like Garrett Wilson is first in the NFL in targets by like 9. So like now he has to take a step down in this offense. Wilson and Lazard are 3rd and 4th in routes run this year out of all wide receivers. Like they get a lot of work done. So maybe like this like take some pressure off the passing game from those guys. So I like it, but like maybe trading for a left tackle or a head coach would have been better. But I'm all for it. And it's great content too. Just from a content standpoint, like hosting a podcast, working in the NFL business, you gotta love it. All right, there's a double Monday night header. Or a Monday Night Football, doubleheader this week. The Baltimore Ravens, 3.5-point road favorites heading into Tampa. I just want a vibes check on the Bucs from you. Is this a Super Bowl team, Warrensy? It's a team I'm still can't really figure out, but they just dropped a 51 burger last week, and they're playing good ball.
Yeah, I think it's a good football team. From a vibe standpoint, I like what they're doing because they're just living and dying with Baker, letting Baker be Baker. And when you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin playing like this, I like their game plan. The Ravens are still number 1 versus the run. It's death taxes, and Baltimore can stop the run. So it's going to be on Baker's arm this week. I have no idea who to take in this game. I really am struggling, so I'm going to take the points. 'Cause I have +3.5. Did you say you have +3 or +3.5?
The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites.
Yeah, since I'm getting that hook, I'm going to take the Bucs.
Mm-hmm. The Ravens are actually having a really tough time stopping opposing wide receivers this season. They're 29th in DVOA against wide receiver 1. They've allowed the most receiving touchdowns to opposing wide receivers as well. So maybe a big Mike Evans game. The touchdown odds are not up yet. I was hoping to see if the Mike Evans touchdown was in a nice betting range, but I'd look for that one. I like the Bucs too, +3.5. Give me them. The Ravens are played really well last few weeks. Maybe there's a little bit of a letdown spot. I'll take the hook and the points for a game I couldn't really decide. But I do want to give Lamar Jackson some love here. I do think he's the MVP of the league so far through 6 weeks, heading into week 7. The Baltimore Ravens offense is first in DVOA. He's picking people apart in the pocket. He was so good against the Commanders last week from throwing inside the pocket. He's also 8th in the NFL in rushing yards. Not even just at a quarterback, out of everyone.
Yeah.
Lamar's playing really well, but I think Todd Bowles can slow him down a little bit. But I just wanted to give Lamar some love here. Do you agree? Would you pick Lamar to win MVP right now?
Yeah, but I remember doing this last year where we had a different MVP every 2 weeks. So I'm okay saying he's the favorite now, but that could change in 3 weeks so easily. Caleb.
All right, final Monday Night Football game. The Los Angeles Chargers are heading on the road to play the Arizona Cardinals. They're 2.5-point road favorites. The Cardinals, just the most disappointing team in the league for me, man. I just wish they would play more consistent week in and week out. They look good against 49ers. They're bad against Packers. It was kind of what I talked about last week. They're going to be a roller coaster team for me all year. They're going to look good one week. They're going to look bad one week. Okay, now the roller coaster should be going up if my take is correct. But the Chargers are coming off a bye. Or no, sorry, the Chargers aren't coming off a bye, but they're coming off a win against Las Vegas Raiders. Who do you like in this one?
Against the Broncos last week, they beat
the Broncos. Sorry, the Broncos.
One of the first things I do every week when I see the card is check the Arizona Cardinals over number. They're straight dead over team to me. But this Chargers defense has been sneaky. It's been playing pretty well. This will be their toughest test from the quarterback position. Other than Patrick Mahomes. But the reason I stayed away from this over is because I believe Marvin Harrison is going to miss with concussion. We saw this Arizona offense when they were down Trey McBride. You removed one piece from this offense, and it fell apart. Kind of the same thing happened last week when Marvin Harrison left early. This offense kind of fell apart. So I don't trust their offense down Marvin Harrison to get me to an over. I'm going to side with the Chargers in this game. Jim Harbaugh just has this team humming. They just clearly have bought into the Harbaugh philosophy, and we're going to out-tough you. We're going to be stronger than you. And I think that's something the Cardinals will struggle with, is matching the physical Harbaugh nature. So give me the Chargers -2.
You saw he left the game with like heart palpitations against the Broncos. Did you see his quote this week? He's like, "I have the heart of an athlete.
Yeah.
I'll be out there." I love that guy, man. He's the best. I like the Chargers -2.5. The Chargers are first in EPA per rush right now and first in rush success rate on defense. The Cardinals can't get the run game going. That kind of halters their offense quite a bit. I don't love it, but I'll take the Chargers -2.5 for the show. All right, that's all she wrote. Warren D, recap your 3 locks from the week.
My locks this week, we're going to start with the Miami Dolphins +3. We're going to get the Los Angeles Rams -6.5, and we're going to get the New York Jets -1.5.
All right, my 3 locks: the Green Bay Packers -2.5, the Seattle Seahawks +3, and the Kansas City Chiefs +1.5. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. You greatly appreciate it. Make sure to like wherever you listen to your audio podcasts, and we will talk to you later.